All right, no intro. Let's get right into this project. On a piece of graph paper, trace out your Apple Watch as well as the width of your watch band. I like starting every single one of my patterns out on graph paper. This allows me to get consistent straight lines and is much easier for me to get more accurate measurements using the squares of the graph paper. Draw a straight line using your ruler and the graph paper. You want this to be slightly smaller than the size of your watch strap connector. Cut the strap out of your graph paper. Measure your wrist by wrapping around the graph paper and cutting it out. Fold the extra graph paper to shorten your watch strap to the desired length. I am putting dots where I intend to cut out my pattern from the graph paper. Now using my ruler, I connect all of those dots. Here I am drawing a line to represent where the Apple Watch will be in relation to the overall watch strap. Every single step that you make, you want to consistently check your measurements. Like they say, measure twice and cut once. Now we're going to cut out our pattern from the graph paper. I personally leave a little trim around the pattern of the graph paper when cutting it out. This makes it easier for me to get a clean cut once it is attached to the cardstock. This seems to work best for me, but you can do it however you like. Using a glue stick, spread glue all over the piece of cardstock. If you don't have cardstock, you can use a cereal box, and that works just as well. Now that the graph paper and the cardstock paper are glued together, we are going to cut out our pattern. Check the pattern once it's cut out to make sure it fits around your wrist perfectly. Using a pen or pencil, mark on the short side of the strap where you would like to place your first stud. Now we are going to punch the first hole in our watch strap. Once you get the first hole punched, put the stud into the back of the watch strap. Using another stud, measure the distance needed for them not to be on top of each other. You obviously don't want them to overlap. Now punch out the second hole for the second stud. Check to make sure both of the studs fit and the bottom of the studs are not sitting on top of each other. This is what I think is the hardest part of the whole project, measuring the large side of your watch strap. The reason why I say this is the hardest, because if you're doing this by yourself without help, you have to bend your wrist in the most awkward way. Now you're going to punch both of those holes out. On a spare piece of paper, measure out a quick template of the strap end you just punched. That is going to be the template to get the other two holes needed for your watch strap. Punch those two holes out of your new template. Now match up the holes of your template to the holes of the large end of your watch strap and put the extra two holes where you need them to be. Let's punch out those extra two holes to make a total of 4 holes on the large side of our watch strap. We are going to separate the two ends of our watch strap now. Here I left 2 squares extra in length. I made a major mistake here, and you might be able to see it later on in the video. In fact, I'm sure you'll be able to see it later on in the video. I did not leave enough room to fold over later. Now we have the two ends of our strap. Again, always check your strap in comparison to your Apple Watch. All right, we got the template making process out of the way, so let's get to the fun stuff. A big thank you to Weaver Leather Supply for sending out this shell cordovan to be used in this project. This stuff is absolutely beautiful and I highly recommend it. Below in the description will be my link to Weaver Leather Supply, where you'll be able to find all of the tools and materials used in this video. First things first, we're going to trace out our template pattern onto our leather. I like using a scratch-all personally, but some people will use a pen or pencil. This is just what works best for me. Make sure when using any cutting tool that your blade is sharp. A sharp tool is a safe tool. I like to cut out the general shape of the pattern I just traced onto the leather. I find that once it's detached from the whole hide, it is a lot more manageable to work with. Now that we have our piece of leather detached from the main piece, we just need to cut out the 2 pieces of our strap. For the liner piece of our straps, I'm going to be using this patent leather. This is also very nice leather that Weaver Leather Supply had sent out for this project. Regardless what kind of leather that you're going to be using, I recommend anything that is 2 to 3 ounces thick for the liner. I do the same thing here and cut off the piece of leather that I'll be using for this portion of the project. Having it detached from the whole hide makes it a lot easier to work with. I'm using the straight line of my cutting mat and my ruler to get the perfect straight line here. We're going to apply a thin layer of glue on the flesh side of our liner leather. I'm using contact cement here, but you can use whatever glue you would like. I'm placing down the watch straps on the top of the liner leather, leaving a portion of the strap hanging over that straight line I just cut. I made a huge mistake here and I just wanted to point it out. I did not allow enough hangover from the top piece of leather to the liner leather below. This will come into play later on, so take notes right now. You don't want to do what I just did. I would recommend allowing yourself 3/4 to an inch of overhang from the top piece of your strap to the liner piece below. Once the 2 pieces of leather are glued together, let them set up a while. You can clearly see here that I did not leave enough overhang on the top piece of leather. We're going to rough up the 2 pieces that are going to be glued together. Here's a little trick that I find works really well. Use a thick sewing needle to fill the space that is going to be the pin portion of your strap. Once these pieces are tacked up enough, I like using these little clamps to help hold these pieces together. If you have a round punch, you can skip this portion. If you don't, you can use one of these simple circle templates or even a quarter. Use whatever you have, just get the job done. Now we're going to trim the excess leather off to make a nice rounded strap end. Using your wing dividers, put in a stitch line. Using your favorite stitching punch weapon of choice, put in your stitching holes. Now we are just going to stitch together our top piece of leather and our liner piece of leather, as well as the fold needed to hold the pin used in your Apple Watch connectors. Quickly hammer down your stitch line. This will flatten out all of your stitching and make them look a lot more consistent. A lot of times, if there are any small flaws in your stitch line, just hammering them out will cover up a lot of those minor mistakes. Keep your tools nice and sharp. Sharp tools are safe tools. Not trying to be your dad or anything. I've used probably every single brand of edge bevelers, and I always come back to these ones from Weaver. They're the easiest to sharpen, they stay sharp the longest, and they're just simply the easiest to use. I just feel like there's a lot less opportunity for user error when using these edge bevelers, at least in my experience. Now I'm just going to show off here for a second. This is how you get those extra cool Instagram worthy clips for your reels as well as your TikToks. Check and make sure that your pin fits in snug, but not too tight. If it's too tight, place your sewing needle back in there and give yourself a little bit more room. Make sure that everything lines up perfectly. Sand your edges. With this beautiful shell cordovan in patent leather, you really don't have to sand these much. All right, time to polish up those edges and make them extra crispy. You know the rules. All right, we're gonna start punching our holes in. Here you're going to see me press the punch into the leather slightly and lift it up to look at the indentation. I move it slightly to make sure that the punch is directly centered over the mark I made for the hole. I attach the Apple Watch connector at this point so that I can attach the strap to the watch. I wrap that around my wrist and I find where I want the holes on the larger strap to be placed. Because I'm making this for myself, I can make it 100% customized to my wrist size. Now, using the template before, I'm going to mark out all 4 holes. Here I'm using a round buttonhole punch. These things are incredible. If you don't have one, make the investment. Here's a quick tip. I know I've mentioned this in a video before, but I love this little tip. If you want to polish your edges in very small areas, use the end of a paintbrush and a little bit of polishing solution. This does the trick every time. Now we're going to put in our button screw studs. Place the female portion of the stud on top of that and slowly hammer directly on the top portion of the stud. Once you feel that you've made a little progress and the female portion can stand alone on top of the male portion, go ahead and start hammering hard and drive it home. You're probably going to smash your fingers a few times getting used to putting these in. I know I certainly did. But after a while you get the hang of them, and I absolutely love using this hardware. Alright, now you just gotta make sure that it fits your wrist. As simple as that. If your strap length is a little bit longer, you can always add a loop to secure that extra strap portion. That is completely up to you. Another big thank you to Weaver Leather Supply for sponsoring this video. If you would like to support them as well as myself, there's an affiliate link in the description below. If you could click on that before you go shopping, that would be greatly appreciated. If you've gotten anything of value out of this video, I would ask that you would consider hitting that subscribe button. I appreciate you very much, and I'll check you out on the next video.